G'day there folks, Connie here, and welcome to some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe and all that stuff, and let's get straight to the stories. Okie dokie, we're on the marriage subreddit. This one was written by user Capital Monitor, and it's titled, Just Found Out Husband Has a 2-year-old Daughter. My husband, 27, and I, 27, got together on October 16th, 2022. He moved from Florida to Kansas to be with my son and I. A few months ago, we found out that I can't have more kids, and I'm actually scheduled for a medically necessary hysterectomy early 2025. Well, today, my husband's ex called me. I didn't know it was her until I answered, and she told me that her 2-year-old daughter is my husband's. She was conceived 2 months before my husband and I got together. She's in Florida. I'm not able to move to Florida due to my son's dad living here. I feel like the only option at this point is divorce. I won't leave my son behind to move to Florida, and I would never expect my husband to stay in Kansas and not be there to raise his daughter. I can't explain the amount of sad I am. I never in a million years saw this coming, and I don't even know what to do at this point. Oh man, that must be the worst. No one's really done anything wrong, and yet it sounds like the world is tearing them apart. Let's go to the comments. Opie and her husband need to get the paternity testing done before doing anything further. Opie replies, We are absolutely doing a paternity test before anything. I can 100% see it just being her trying to get him back, but the resemblance between the two is uncanny. But we will definitely do the paternity test before making any decisions moving forward. We are definitely getting a DNA test done, but her not telling him for 2 years is absolutely disgusting in my opinion. As someone with a kid, I could never imagine hiding a child from their father unless their father is violent, and my husband has never even once raised his voice at me or my son. Did Opie's husband know about his daughter? He had no clue about her. He didn't even know she had another baby. She says she didn't tell him due to him being abusive, which I'm not her, so I don't know what she went through with him except what he told me, and I won't speak for her, but he has never even once raised his voice at me. But again, I'm not her, so I'm not going to say she's right or wrong. Opie gives a timeline on when her husband was with the ex and the possibility of the child being conceived during his relationship with his ex. They broke up December 2021 but hooked up a handful of times after. We are absolutely going to do a paternity test before anything. Opie clarifies the details regarding the relationship between her husband and son. He's not the father to my son, but he's been in his life since right before he turned 2. He hasn't said much so far, and I'm not pushing anything. He just found out and he's been on the road. He's a truck driver, so I'm sure his head is just spinning. I'll talk more about it with him tomorrow. Opie responds to multiple comments about divorcing her husband. I've responded many times to this question. No, I was not going to divorce my husband because he has a child. I was not going to divorce my husband willingly, period. As mentioned many times, I was worried that he wouldn't be able to see his daughter while living in Kansas and would have to leave us to go be a father to his daughter, who deserves her father just as much as any other kid. And I said many times, I posted here to make sure I didn't ignore my husband's feelings and emotions. I've been there for him and made him the priority here. I've stated this many times. Opie edits. I want to first thank everyone for their nice and supportive comments. I wrote this when I just found out and was thinking the worst. My brain was going 1,000 miles per hour. I wrote this to vent because my husband doesn't need to deal with me right now. He needs to be able to focus on his feelings and thoughts, so I didn't want to bombard him. We've slept, we've talked, and everything is okay at this time. We've contacted a lawyer and are going to start the paternity process. We were able to get it in writing from his ex to him that she had no intentions on ever telling him, did not want him in her life, and that she isn't going to share her daughter with him. The lawyer we talked to said that there's definitely a chance he can have his parenting time in Kansas if he's the dad, especially since she admitted she hid the daughter from him and didn't tell him until he'd already been settled in Kansas for 2 years with a solid job and a wife and stepchild. Again, thank you everyone who was nice to me during my time of hysteria. Hopefully this all works out for all of us. Okay, Opie updates 2 days later. We talked with and hired an attorney yesterday. She will be served more than likely this week and will first schedule the paternity test. If it comes back that he's the father, then they will determine custody and child support. He said it should be a very quick process as Florida is a 50-50 state and it's extremely rare for a judge to even consider negotiating with either party as long as both parents seem fit, especially with him not knowing these past 2 years and him having it in writing that she never planned to tell him out of spite. He said the judges will have little to no sympathy for anything she says. The attorney said the most likely and typical scenario he sees in situations like this are his daughter will spend 1 week in the spring, 5 weeks in the summer, and 2 weeks in the fall with us in Kansas, and every other holiday. He said there will not be any need to relocate. That's a relief. Opie clarifies on how long she knows her husband. I've known this man for 8 years, have spent many vacations with him and his family in Florida in the past 8 years. He's known my son since my son was 4 months old. We didn't start a romantic relationship until October of 2022. And on the ex's family and how old are the other kids. She has 2 other kids, totaling 3 baby daddies, and the first 2 are in Florida. I'm honestly not 100%, I've never asked. I do know that my husband left her in 2021. The kid in question was from a random hookup, and she had both kids already, so I'd say the younger one is probably 4 to 5. One comment says, why did she wait 2 years to tell him? She sounds like a wackadoo. First of all, if he is married to you, your marriage takes precedent. If this woman wants him in his daughter's life, that needs to be confirmed still. She can move to where you are. She doesn't get to call the shots. Sorry, if you don't want to be married to him anymore, that's your decision, but this woman doesn't get to say jump and have everyone respond with how high. I'm really sorry you're going through this. People make a mess of their lives and don't stop to think about the collateral damage. It's just selfishness. You sound like you're handling this well, and I wish you the best. Prayers to you all. Opie replies, I absolutely want to be married to him, child or not. She has no good excuse for not telling him except our relationship was toxic and I don't like you. We've talked to and hired an attorney, and he said if my husband is the father, long-distance parenting time will be in place and he doesn't have to move, so no worries for our marriage. She can't move because she has 2 other kids with 2 other baby daddies there. She asked me yesterday when my husband will be moving back to Florida to help raise the daughter and apologized for ruining my marriage and was shocked when I said he's not. I'm on the fence about all of this. She could be his, but it also seems like she may just be trying to get him back. Hopefully we will know soon. Has Opie seen the pictures of the girl and if there are any resemblances between her husband and the child? Opie says, after seeing more pictures, the resemblance is not uncanny. I don't see much of him in her at all. I think my brain was just forcing me to believe it, and that made me think they're just super similar. Another update 4 days later. So much was uncovered today, and if you guys thought the situation was sus before, man, you're in for a surprise. But as of this evening, the case is officially open, and a summons has been issued, so I'm going to stay quiet until this is over just in case. Once everything is finalized, no matter how it may be finalized, I'll create a new thread with an actual final update. Thank you everyone for the kind words and advice. We shall see what happens from here. Alrighty, straight to another update, 3 months later. If you saw my original post, here's the current update. If you have not, feel free to check it out for a full understanding. It's been a roller coaster the last 3 months, but by hopefully next week, we will have official answers. DNA tests were done yesterday. They said results typically take 3 to 5 business days, but since they were done in 2 different states, expect closer to 5 to 8 business days. In the last 3 months, there have been a million new things come out and a million different stories. Her and my husband had talked quite a bit until crap hit the fan recently. Her and I also talked quite a bit for a while, all friendly. She would text or call us frequently, and my husband and I agreed to keep the peace since she could potentially be a big part of our lives for a long time. Turns out she did tell my husband she was pregnant, prior to him and I getting together. She said the baby was probably not his. He asked if they could meet up and talk, and a couple of days later she texted him saying she had an abortion. They did not talk again after the conversation regarding her terminating the pregnancy. She admitted to me she did go to a consult at an abortion clinic, scheduled the abortion for the next day, and then decided against it. But, in what she told me, she decided she was going to tell him she went through with it because she felt they wouldn't be able to co-parent well. The daughter has another man's last name, and that man is on the birth certificate, even though she's told my husband over a dozen times in the past 3 months that she has always known the daughter was my husband's. There's a ton more, but I don't want to make this post 6 hours long. My husband's attorney has sent in proposed orders already in the case that paternity comes back positive. That way they can jump right into it. In his proposed orders, he put in 50-50 legal and physical custody until she starts school, after a few months of visitations to let the daughter get to know my husband, with my husband flying with child both ways. No child support if granted 50-50 physical custody. No back child support, as she has said multiple times that she never intended on telling him he has a child, and since there was another guy supporting the child these last 2 years, per her, he is still active in the child's life, even though they aren't together. Husband carries child on health insurance, husband's name goes on birth certificate, and daughter's last name changed to husband's last name. His attorney has also talked about filing paternity fraud charges against her, since she has stated many times that she has always known. She just didn't want to co-parent with him, so she chose to put a different guy on the birth certificate, which caused my husband to miss out on 2 years of his potential child's life. If paternity comes back negative, his attorney is requesting she pay us back all legal fees due to frivolous litigation. My emotions are insane right now waiting on these results. I of course would love and accept the child if she is my husband's. She would be accepted into our family immediately and treated and loved the same as my biological child. But the ex has texted my husband about how much she still loves him, how she always will, how she just wants one-on-one time with him so they can try to reconnect. She has also texted and called me many times, saying she feels bad our marriage has to end. It isn't going to end. She's going to be a tough one to co-parent with if the child is his, but that's not the child's fault, and no matter what, we will get through it. Opie adds, my husband and I tried for a baby for almost a year before seeing a fertility specialist. He did 2 semen analyses and both came back 100% sterile. Literally nothing due to a chromosome inversion. Doesn't mean it couldn't have happened, but unlikely. One comment says, she sounds manipulative and a little off. She's just trying to get back in his life. She thought this would ruin your marriage and she's trying to weasel her way back in. There's no reason to be nice to her. If she did suspect it, she should have said something years ago. I wouldn't be speaking to her. I'd let the lawyers handle it, and once you figure it out, go from there. She will be very destructive if you continue to feed into her. If the child is your husband's, they don't need to communicate on their own. They need a co-parenting app and have conversations only about the child. No drama, no manipulation. Opie replies, we stopped all communication with her about a month ago. Apparently her and her boyfriend, the man on the birth certificate, broke up right before she called me about the child possibly being my husband's, so I'm skeptical. And he did request using AppClose for communicating. My son's dad and I use it. I also think she's just trying to create drama and get him back. She also called me one night about it and told me she has to keep the papers she was served in her car so the other guy doesn't see them, so I don't think he knows about all of this. Is Opie's husband able to have children, and when was the girl conceived? As of August 2024, he cannot have biological children. Both analyses, a month apart, came back with literally 0 sperm count. Azoospermia. IVF wasn't an option because there was no sperm to use unless we used donor sperm. Also, I had a hysterectomy last month due to medical issues, so even donor sperm isn't an option, which makes the situation 10 times worse because either 1, he has a daughter and missed out on the first 2 years of her life, or 2, she made him think he has a biological child that he will never have, and it was all just a game. And on what the ex told her about the father on the birth certificate. She also told us that she met the man on the birth certificate a month after she found out she was pregnant. So from her story, she told my husband she was pregnant and that she aborted it, then met her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, whatever he is, the next month. Then she announced her pregnancy on Facebook a month later, saying they are having a baby, and tagged the man on the birth certificate. So from her story, she met this guy and then a month later announced him as the father. None of it makes sense. And now for a final edit. Update, paternity tests are back. 0% probability my husband is the father. Wow, there you go. I guess the only question now is who is the father? If it wasn't this dude that she met a month after she got pregnant, and it wasn't Opie's husband, who is it? One comment says, I'm happy for you. Hopefully your husband is doing okay. I can see him being relieved as avoiding the drama, but also maybe a little hurt that he doesn't have a child with his DNA. Before I got pregnant after failed IVF, I was bitter a little bit that I wouldn't have a child of my own and only my stepson. I pray he doesn't feel that, or you both can work through it, whether it's adoption together, surrogate with his sperm, or cancelling. Opie says, he actually isn't upset at all, thankfully. He has always wanted a kid with his DNA, but not with her, so he's relieved and just hopes the poor kid can figure out who her dad is one day. And what did the ex say about the results? Since my husband paid for all 3 tests, she didn't get the results. He sent them to her and she never replied. We'll be taking her to court for attorney fees, and all communication is 10,000% done. Yeah, probably smart to not talk with the ex anymore, that's for sure. Anyway guys, that's the end of that story. A bit of a crazy timeline, it was a bit all over the place, but we got there in the end. I guess it is a little reassuring to know that the husband isn't that upset about the child not being his. I feel like the information about him being sterile came very late in the story. Like, is that not an important thing to say straight up? Anyway guys, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, we're going to move on to the next story. Alrighty, jumping over to Am I the A-hole? This one was written by user Classic Effect, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for beating my parents to the chase and moving out in the middle of the night? I, 18 female, overheard conversations with my mum and my dad, 39 and 40, about how they planned to kick me out shortly after my 18th birthday. The way they were talking about it seemed like they were dead serious, and the way it was brought up made it seem like they were going to kick me out too. So I decided that I wouldn't give them the chance to kick me out and made plans with my friend, Riley, 17 female, to stay at her place until I graduated and moved into a college dorm or had an apartment of my own. Riley's parents were horrified by the thought that my parents would kick me out the second I turned 18 and agreed to let me stay at their place as long as I graduated high school. Riley, her parents, and my boyfriend Cole, 18, came after midnight to help me take my belongings to their car and drive me to Riley's house. My parents woke up in the middle of this and asked me what the hell was going on. I kinda shrugged and told them that I was moving out before they could kick me out. My parents tried to deny this and attempted to stop me from leaving, but there was nothing they could do since I'm a legal adult. By the way, I wasn't just going to leave in the middle of the night without any goodbye. I already put a note on the kitchen table where my mum goes to first in the morning, explaining what happened. Right now, I'm at Riley's house in their spare bedroom, and I've gotten bombarded with calls from my parents asking me to come back and not to tell my grandparents about this. In one text, my mum called me an ungrateful bee for leaving in the middle of the night and that she should have kicked me out sooner. Okay, well before that text I was going to say maybe it's a little bit of a misunderstanding, but hell nah, I would have left as well. Let's go to the comments. Not the a-hole. If it was one conversation that you overheard, I'd say you overreacted, but since it was several times and no note of sarcasm or joking, then you did right. Also, your mum saying she should have kicked you out sooner is pretty clear. The fact that they don't want your grandparents to know also shows they know it's wrong. You don't mention any reason why they want to kick you out. Have you been in trouble? Do they dislike your boyfriend? Bad grades? Opie replies, I remember from a few conversations, 2 unrelated to kicking me out, about my mum wanting an office, and I haven't been in big trouble like getting in trouble with the law. Grades are pretty good, and they've so far expressed approval about Cole. Quote, my mum called me an ungrateful bee for leaving in the middle of the night and that she should have kicked me out sooner. Well, there's your hardcore proof. And quote, calls from my parents asking me to come back and not to tell my grandparents about this. Are you close to your grandparents? Do you think they'd want to know? If so, you've got quite the collection of texts to show them, not the a-hole. Yeah, now for an update 1 month later. Well, I certainly wasn't expecting to see my story on r/ when I woke up this morning, but here we are. I honestly forgot about this account, and struggled to remember the password, but here we go. A lot of shocking information was revealed, and this is just my brief, messy account of it. So, like you all suggested I do, I told my grandparents what happened with screenshots of my parents' text after I went to Riley's house. Let me tell you that they were livid at what my parents were saying to me, and the fact they were planning to kick me out. I ended up meeting up with them and staying with them at their place for a few days while they tried to figure out what the hell was going on with my parents. My mum and dad were being sent money monthly by my grandma and grandpa for my college fund since they mostly depleted it after my brother Alex moved out because he was tired of them begging him for money due to their gambling addictions. My mum admitted that their plan was to kick me out, but act like I moved out willingly because I found an apartment, and get double the money that they were previously getting to help out with my rent money once they asked my grandparents for it. Grandma yelled at my mum over the phone and told her that she'd never see a dime of her money again. She told my mum that she would rewrite her will so that the money my mum would have gotten would go to me, which my mum freaked out at. My dad blew up my phone one more time before I blocked both him and my mum's numbers for good, calling me an evil C-word and telling me that he wished my mum aborted me. So yeah. I talked with my brother, Alex, and the only thing he really had to say, or ask, was, I guess, why our parents' scummy behaviour hadn't been called out when they were trying to legitimately steal his paychecks to go gamble. I'm sorry if this is kind of rambly, but this was the best I could do at the moment. Thank you all for your advice, and I'll maybe give another update if anything else happens, but I doubt I will. One comment says, "Poor OP, I wish her brother warned her when he moved out, but it probably happened when she was too young to do anything. Now, as an adult, she can escape. I think he's probably upset the grandparents didn't do for him what they are for OP." At this point, I think that if you drain a kid's college fund, especially one that from the sound of it was contributed to by others, to fund your addictions, it should be straight to prison. I don't care if it's your right. Be a good parent in at least that one way, because if you're doing that, you're guaranteed to be messing up other ways too. Yeah, hard to argue with that, that's for sure. Anyway guys, that's the end of that story. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know. Otherwise, that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.